As we continue with our focus on all things real-time, I'm excited to introduce Amy, Partner Engineering Manager at DBT, and Julie, Senior Product Manager at SingleStore, to take you through how to power real-time applications. Julie, Amy, take it away.
Hello, everybody. I'm Julie Price. I'm a Senior Product Manager here at SingleStore, and I'm joined by Amy Chen, who is from DBT Labs. And we're here today to talk to you about how SingleStore DB and DBT can really help to supercharge your real-time analytics and give you a great tool to have in your arsenal to use for building out your analytics transformations. So Amy, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and about DBT Labs?
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Chen. I'm the Partner Engineering Manager here at DBT Labs. In case you aren't aware what DBT is, DBT Labs is essentially the creators and maintainers of a tool called DBT. Now, what DBT is it's a transformation workflow that essentially allows anyone who's comfortable with SQL to create trusted data pipelines. How I like to think about us is we are a SQL-first product that our main goal is to essentially give folks the ability to test, document, version control, and create modular code for your data pipelines. And we do that with a SQL-first mentality. We have two key offerings, which is DBT Core, which is that open source framework, as well as DBT Cloud, which is the fully managed SaaS product that gives you an optimized DBT workflow from development to deployment. Now, Julie, we have known each other for, I think, about a year, and what kicked this relationship off was essentially you decided to build a SingleStore DBT adapter. Could you tell us a little bit about why you decided that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've actually been in the data and analytics space for a long time. I started hearing rumblings about DBT probably back right when the product was launched and when the company had a different name and everything. And so I started to notice this momentum and a lot of adoption and actually that you created a term called analytics engineers, which is really amazing. And so I started to see that, it was so widely adopted by analytics engineers and really commonly adopted in the data warehousing space. And SingleStore is really good for data warehousing, but actually the reason why people really adopt SingleStore DB is because of the ability to do transactional and analytical processing together in the same database, not just on the same database, but on the same table even. And so that's really powerful. And so we see a lot of developers adopting SingleStore DB. And so one of the things that really attracted me to DBT for SingleStore DB is kind of the developer centricity of the DBT tool and the ability to do a lot of the things that developers want to do. And now you might think if I'm doing analytics on the same table that I'm doing transactions on, why do I even need DBT? The reality is that most of the time, all of the data you need for analytics is not in the same table. Most of the time, the column names, the calculations, the expressions, those types of things aren't really handled, and you still need to do those transformations. And so although we don't necessarily want to go through a batch process to materialize transformations, DBT is really powerful also for creating views. So you can create your models, which result in SQL views. And a lot of times those views are depending on other views, which are depending on other views and other views and other views. And that's really complicated. And so a lot of what DBT brings to the table for that as well is the concept of observability or discoverability on what the dependencies are of the various different views. So if I'm a developer and I go in and I change something, I actually know what I'm going to break. And I spent a long time in my career actually figuring out what I just broke. Sometimes it was weeks to figure that out. Back when I was doing data warehouse development. So that's one of the big reasons. And as I mentioned, developers really want the same controls for their database objects as they have for other development assets. So they want to be able to build, test, document, and deploy. Have version control, all of that kind of stuff. And so I think DBT is just a really, really powerful tool to include in your development toolkit when you're working with SingleStore DB. And that's why we built it. So is that kind of aligned with what you see within your community and usage of DBT as well?
Definitely. So one of the things that we often get asked is why can't I just write this transformation in the UI, or like, why can't I just do this on my own? But the benefits of DBT isn't so much like helping you write that transformation. That's the easy part. That's the part you're actually being paid for. But it's really much about the overall framework. And we have been known to have very opinionated best practices because we have learned from years of just being in the industry about how to minimize your tech debt. How, if you accidentally lose lineage, like what is a truly optimized workflow? And I think while you could definitely technically build this all yourself, with DBT, you just get all those levers out of the box. And on top of that, we have the community that really keeps us pushing to create more. And if it's not there, they'll let us know. And also, if better yet, oftentimes they'll just create it and contribute it to the DBT product.
Yeah, so speaking of the community is actually one of the things that's one of my favorite things about DBT. And it's part of the reason why also that we looked at creating DBT adapter. We had people in the SingleStore forum, so come in and say, hey, are you going to support DBT? Will you have an adapter that supports all of the cool SingleStore stuff that you have, like shard and sort keys and things like that, which we now do support in our DBT adapter. That being said, like, why is the community so passionate about DBT? Like, I know that the community brings databases to you often. So why is that?
Yeah, I love in DBT Slack where someone's like, hey, do you support this? And then if not, we'll usually reverse it back and like, do you want to build an adapter? And when they say yes, it's like pretty epic. And I think the reason why we've set up this kind of conversation is essentially because, one, we are open source. So by its essence, the open source mentality often means that like, if you use the tool, there's an expectation that if you love it, you will contribute back. And this sounds a little bit marketing centric, but like when we talk about the community, we at DBT Labs think of ourselves as more like the maintainers, but we're part of the community, and it is not our community. We want to make sure we're facilitating those conversations, so it's easier to contribute, like lower the barrier entry to maybe you're an analyst and you have a good solution to an adapter and you believe this is the right way to do a workflow, then there should be no barrier for you to open a PR and start that conversation. So I think what's key here is like the DBT community, I joke a lot, is it's just extremely nice. And that's because a lot of times we've set into that space to leave your ego at the door and ask your question, even if it might feel silly. And this often creates that flywheel of enjoying being there rather than just coming to ask the question and then leaving. We see a lot of folks just bring in their friends and be like, you got to go check this out, because it's a place to have open dialogue.
So I mean, like I said, the community is one of my favorite things. Can you tell us, first of all, how we can find the community?
So if you type in community.getdbt.com, you'll get access to our community site, and then there's a link that you can fill out to get access to our Slack community. But I want to emphasize our Slack community is not the only part of the community. We have lots of folks just writing blog posts and stuff, but if you want ease of dialogue, there's 30,000 folks who are excited to chat with you.
Awesome. And one of my favorite places is the memes and off-topic chatter. So if you just need a good generation of memes, check out that Slack channel.
Now I have to ask, what's up next for SingleStore and DBT? Are you about to make any memes about SingleStore and DBT?
Oh, well, I mean, challenge accepted. So give us a few days on that. But so specifically for the SingleStore DBT adapter, there's a couple of interesting things that we have in the works. One, we support all of kind of your traditional database objects, tables and views, and support the SingleStore DB specific constructs for those, like shard and sort keys and things like that. One of the really interesting requests that we've recently had from the community also is to be able to support pipelines. So SingleStore pipelines is an integrated way to actually ingest data, streaming or in batch into SingleStore DB without any other like third-party tool. And so that's pretty amazing. So being able to manage the creation and adaptation of pipelines is one. And also folks on the other launch recordings would have heard that we've recently launched something called Workspaces, which is giving you the ability to like greatly scale out your compute resources against the same set of data. And so integrating things like having our Workspaces API that enables us to, spin up and spin down the workspaces through the DBT adapter. So I think that that's pretty exciting stuff that we have going on. And I imagine that DBT is not done making updates either. So what are you up to and what are you excited about?
Yeah, I think the spiciest thing that is starting to come up is that while DBT is always going to be a SQL first product, we're starting to expand to support Python. So we're really excited for that, and you'll definitely hear more, especially if you join us at our conference, the Analytics Engineering Conference named Coalesce in October. Outside of that, as always, we're trying to expand all of the offerings that folks are interested in. So I definitely hope to see SingleStore as one of the adapters in the near future on DBT Cloud.
Awesome. So for those of you who are listening, if you want to learn a little bit more about DBT, about SingleStore DB and our adapter in particular, you can go ahead and just type in SingleStore DB and DBT into Google search. You'll get both the DBT documentation around the SingleStore profile, how you get it set up and everything like that. And you can find more information also out on SingleStore's site, including some blogs and other information as well. So Amy, I really appreciate it. It was awesome getting the chance to catch up with you today, to give the folks watching an introduction to kind of what DBT is and why we built the connector. So I just want to say thanks so much to you and thanks so much to everybody who's watching.